Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Carl Hunter. He is the creator of MindFlavors. He's an artist and entrepreneur from New York City, and he began his self-development journey as a very young child by seeking ways to improve his own behavior in order to get better results in all areas of his life. And recently, he worked really hard to define this new MindFlavors technology that he discovered that could help people to focus and to manifest. And I love just the concept of manifesting, because today that is something that many of us are really learning about when we come into our own power. And Carl seems to have found or patented, actually, MindFlavors, which is a synergistic approach that combines breakthrough discoveries with the most effective modalities in positive mind conditioning. So welcome, Carl. How are you?
Well, thank you, Tammy. What a great introduction. I'm very happy to be here, and thanks for having me on your show today.
Your bio reads like a novel, and it's very long and complex. So that's why I kept it short, because I'd rather have you explain a little more about the journey to create MindFlavors, since it's basically sounds like it's been your life journey or your purpose.
Yes. Well, I started out when I was in my 20s, excuse me, and I was in the diamond business, and things were going well at first, and then everything kind of seemed to fall apart, and it kind of rippled throughout my life. And I noticed something interesting at the time. These other people that I was working with in the diamond business seemed to be very unorganized and just not very methodical about their business. They were very laxed, and sometimes they wouldn't even show up for appointments, and people would be waiting for them. And yet, at the end of the year, they always seemed to do a good bottom line. And it confused me at the time, and so I decided to dig deeper and figure out what was going on. And I started learning about how to program my subconscious mind. I learned that the subconscious mind is actually responsible for most of our behavior, which I thought was interesting, because it seems like we all think that we're in control of our behavior because we're thinking in our minds all day long, and we think that that's what's running the show and what's causing things to happen in our lives. And I learned that we're really only about 1 to maybe, if we're really good, 10% conscious in that sense, meaning a very small amount of our mind power our conscious mind power is going towards affecting the things that we'd like to affect in our lives. And this is why I was stuck with what was happening in my life. And I started to make the connection and the realization that if it's a program that's in my subconscious that's running and that can be changed, what do I have to do to change it? And if I change it, what's going to happen to the outer world when I do that? And so I discovered through seeking and searching, I discovered information about the subconscious mind and different ways that we could get in and influence its behavior. And the program that's already written, that really was written during childhood when we're very impressionable and we don't really know much about what's going on in the world. So we're making determinations based on very little understanding. And so those impressions influence that becomes the the structure of our subconscious blueprint, if you will, which is determining what's happening in the outer world. Basically, it filters everything in our lives, our experiences, and draws to us things that will match that reality. So the question is, if we've got those beliefs in our subconscious, can we change them and therefore change our reality? And so this is what I was going through at the time, and I discovered a manual way to literally, by writing in a certain way in a certain time, handwriting, that you can put new programming right into your subconscious mind and have it affect change in your outer world. So I started experimenting with that and saw immediate results. That got me really excited, and I decided at that point that I was going to master the process, and that was about 32 years ago.
I'm chuckling because you said, "Oh, that was 32 years ago," and I was in my 20s, and you don't look much older than that now. That thing. Okay, so you went on a quest. Where did you find this information about how the subconscious mind worked? Were there any things that you studied? What did you have to dig deep into the archives, or was it in plain sight? What was the journey to figure all this stuff out?
Well, the first thing that, if I really look back on it, and I love doing this, tracing things back, if I really look back on that in that sense, I would say the beginning point was when I read a book by Og Mandino called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And in that book, he gives a process of where you read a paragraph of principles, basically, ideas, positive ideas for your life. And you read those in the morning and the evening every day for 30 days. It progresses for 30 days. And it started affecting my subconscious. So that was really the beginning. But ultimately, on that quest, I came across some information. Somebody shared an audio tape with me, and someone was talking about how you could program your subconscious mind through a writing process. And so I decided to experiment with it. And I also shared it with other people, and they experimented with it. And some people who really were very skeptical about it, and I told them to just do it anyway, give it a go. What do you got to lose on it, right? And they started seeing results too, and that got me really excited.
So is there anything that connected to the time you said 30 days? Is there something about a time frame? And you also said that this writing process, when you do the writing process, you said that it had something to do with a time. Is it the length of time, a time of day or night, or how often you do it that changes your subconscious, or just the fact that you're actually paying attention and doing something?
All of the above, actually. Your attention does have an influence. That's one aspect of it. There are many aspects that are connected to this, and to really get the most powerful effects, there are certain elements that really are important, that are crucial, that they're done in a certain way. And I'll just tell you what those are right now. It's very simple. And I even have an ebook that your listeners, I'd be happy to share with them for free, that details this whole process for them. So what you do is, within 30 minutes of going to sleep, and I'll explain why in just a moment, and preferably make it the last thing you do before going to sleep. What you do is you handwrite in cursive, so script, exactly what you would like to experience, and you write it in the present tense as though it already exists. So you would describe it, you would write it as a description of what you're seeing as this new reality. Now, I call them power declarations because it's easier for the subconscious to accept the term when you call it a declaration instead of calling it an affirmation. Affirming something that isn't already there is more of a challenge and gets blocked more easily by the subconscious resistance than when you just simply declare something. So I call them power declarations. And what you do is you write it in the positive, and you do it. I also use the progressive tense, the ing ends with ing in the verb, so that it's in the process, depending on the context. But it's very simple, and there are really two different sides to how to do some of the more subtle aspects of how you do this programming. And it depends on whether you are more emotional suggestible or more physical suggestible. And that's what that means is, does your mind, your subconscious, absorb more easily when things are stated in a very straightforward manner, or when they're stated in kind of a roundabout, implied manner? And I like to experiment with both, because I believe that we all have different aspects of both of those. So you might as well cover all the different angles that you can. And so simply by writing these just before you go to sleep, it's very, very common to actually experience the outcome that you wrote down as early as the very next day. And that happens to me quite regularly.
That's really fascinating, because when I was a teenager, I used to tell myself, and I wasn't writing it down, but I was telling myself what I wanted to dream about and who I wanted in my dreams. And sure enough, they would show up. But the first thing that came to mind is, you said, to write it in cursive or script. And there are many younger people who have never learned how to write in cursive. Because other than their signature, because they quit teaching it in schools. And I've always believed that there's a definite hand-brain connection. So that makes perfect sense to me. What happens if, let's say that it's someone who doesn't write in cursive, if they hand wrote it in block letters, would it still work?
Well, this kind of goes back to what you said early in the beginning, and I mentioned that all of the above, all of the different aspects affect change. But if your goal and your focus is to get the best bang for your buck, so to speak, and have the most powerful results with any effort that you're putting in, then it's ideal to optimize the process. So in other words, whatever's going to be the strongest, that's what you use. And in this case, the reason why we use script or cursive is because it's more of a right brain activity. With those letters being joined, it's more like creating a work of art. And because of that, it's able to bypass the critical factor of the mind and go more into the subconscious mind more easily. So, and the reason why is when you're doing print, you're picking up the pen and you're putting it, each time you're picking it up. So it's like a bunch of lines that are more analytical. That tends to be more left brain. And left brain activities are more quickly filtered by the critical mind because they just are. And so since we know this, it's advantageous to learn cursive. If you don't know how to write cursive, I would highly, highly, highly recommend learning cursive. It's not difficult to learn, and I'm sure there are all kinds of things on YouTube that videos that can teach anyone, but it's well worth the investment because you can literally rewrite your own reality.
Wow, that's really fascinating. I mean, like I said, I always knew that there was a hand-brain connection, but I didn't make the correlation between a hand subconscious connection. And it's interesting how, you have managed to do this. Now, you've created MindFlavors, and I saw that it's actually a patented process. And then I also saw that you've created some videos, and I was reading in your FAQ section that you can actually affect change in something like 4.5 minutes. Did I read that right?
Yes, that's right. 4.5 minutes. That's correct. It's very exciting what we're doing and the kinds of results that we're seeing people experiencing. And we do private screenings for folks. We're still doing private screenings where we allow you to experience it. It's a 4.5 minute video. That's the technology is in the video. And you watch this video, and within 4.5 minutes, your consciousness is changed. You have clarity like probably never before. People commonly say that mind chatter that was sometimes very dominant in their mind is completely gone. Most of the time, people are uncontrollably smiling afterwards, and they usually say, I don't know why, I can't stop smiling. They usually feel immediately like they want to get out in nature and start exploring, and oftentimes they'll show up at the end of the day and they're tired from the long day, and suddenly they feel energized and they're ready to go out, and it's like they just woke up from a restful sleep. These are typical things that we see just from the first time watching, and even more.
So you basically took all of your years of research and put it into a 4.5 minute video that people can watch that can help make this change.
Yes.
It's interesting because mind chatter, sleeplessness, that lack of joy, all of those are things that many people complain about. And you're saying that, okay, here you go. We can reprogram your subconscious mind. So your subconscious mind, hearing you say this, am I right that you're basically saying that your subconscious mind is responsible for your reality?
That's a pretty good way to put it. Now, we are the most amazing expressions of life, really, as human beings. And we are doing things below our level of consciousness that would probably shock people how much we're actually doing, how much we're all connected, how much we are in tune with timing, and how there is no such thing as a coincidence. Everything is in perfect alignment with what is in the blueprint of our subconscious programming. I've spent decades studying the correlation between what programming goes in and what outcome shows up. And so it's very clear. I've through that process, I've learned how to reverse engineer people's lives, so to speak. And someone can come to me, as we do in our transformation process. Our members, they at one stage in the process, I will have them write down what it is that they're asking for and why they think that they don't have it. And through that, I can see exactly what it is in the subconscious that is popping up that's in the way of them experiencing what it is that they'd like to experience. And I reverse engineer that and give them some writing to do. And it's amazing how quickly things turn around.
In the sample that I started to watch before our interview, you say, okay, it's a 4.5 minute and people can experience this. Is every, it sounds to me like you have a personal interview with someone and then you can reverse engineer, or are all the videos like the same video, but they work for whatever the person is watching it needs? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are different flavors with MindFlavors in our program. And the name of our program is Lucrative Sales Success, because we decided that we're going to start with serving entrepreneurs, people who are making change in the world and getting their work out to the world that's helping people to better their lives. So we decided to start there. However, the technology itself, what many people are saying in our program is they signed up for a program around their business, but they got a consciousness upgrade. So what I mean by that is the technology works. There are many things that are generically happening across the board, regardless of the flavor that you're watching in the MindFlavors. So whether you're watching one on focus and concentration, whether you're watching one on mastering money flow, whether you're watching one on winning self-confidence, what you're focused on while you're watching it is what is being expanded in your experience. So the way that the MindFlavors technology works is it's highly accelerated the process of creating new neural pathways in your brain. So while you're watching the technology, what you're focusing on, it will bring that into your experience. And at the same time, it rewrites and rewires the pathways so that you are no longer stuck in the old patterns that were redundant and were limiting and self-sabotaging. So most people, they're living their lives with a glass ceiling, and no matter what they do, they keep bumping into their own programming. And in 4.5 minutes, this clears out a good portion of that programming. Now, it's something that you do on an ongoing basis, and our members have lifetime access to the technology. So, it's the way that it works is you watch one in the morning and one in the evening. So total of 9 minutes a day, and you can change your life.
Wow. I mean, you found, but I mean, if you think about what do people want? They want something that works. They want something that's fast, and they need something where they can get that result. And I think it's so amazing because, most people who are on a journey, we've read all the books that we can find on the topic of manifesting, on the topic of higher consciousness. Some people have studied all kinds of religions, looking for the answer of how do you have a better life and live your purpose and attract all the good things. So this just sounds amazing. Can you tell me, so what exactly is patented in MindFlavors? That's really intriguing to me that you have a patent on MindFlavors.
Well, the MindFlavors technology it's a proprietary technology, actually. And, but what is unique to the technology is that it's multifaceted brainwave entrainment. Okay. So the concept of brainwave entrainment is not a new concept, but mostly it's used in an audio form. And this is combined with a visual aspect of brainwave entrainment, which is quite unique, using sacred geometry and other different therapeutic type of aspects. And it's really a synergistic approach. There are so many different things that are compacted into a MindFlavors. It's like what you said earlier. It's the combination of all of the different things that I've learned over the last 32 years that I've put into this. And every single time I come up with something that is more that I see as something to experiment with that can take it farther, I continue to do that, and we continue to progress with this. And it's been really amazing to watch the evolution of not only our members, but of myself and my partner, and even the technology itself, because there's something really important that I think is worth mentioning here, and that is all of the things that you talked about with the book knowledge and everything, that's all the conscious mind. And in order to truly understand how the subconscious mind works, you really have to play with it. You have to experiment with it. You have to learn how to communicate with it in a way that you can see the results from it and watch the change. And what I did was, I had reached a point where I was feeling like I'd been using the writing process for decades with great results, but I was feeling like, it's funny how you can raise your consciousness and then after a while that's the norm. And then we feel like we'd like to go higher. And so that's where I was. And so knowing what I know about the subconscious and what I've learned and how I've learned how to use my subconscious mind, it became very clear to me that the answer was to program myself to, and specifically what I programmed was that I increase my manifestation abilities exponentially. Now, the subconscious mind does not recognize limitations. So think about that statement. I increase my manifestation abilities exponentially. In order to do that, I had to invent a new technology. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what my subconscious led me to discover, different ancient secrets and things that were happening that have been that we know influence our human experience. And I combine that with all of my knowledge of what I've experienced over the last 3 decades with modern technology, and that's all wrapped up into what is now MindFlavors.
It's just overwhelmingly fascinating, just because there's just so many avenues. And again, many of our listeners, they're on a path to higher consciousness. And it's interesting, again, how, like, I met you at the New Media Summit that Steve Olsher had, and I remember seeing you and your partner, Amy, in this crowd of 150 people or so. And I remember always looking at you going, he looks interesting. I wonder what, his story is. That's how I always think about people, is like, I wonder what they do and what they're thinking about. And then I kept seeing you over and over and over again. And I just think that's very interesting, because what you're talking about is so powerful. And even if all somebody did was, if they just tried your writing technique before they went to bed and try it for 30 days, see what happens. Or they go to MindFlavors.com and they look at your videos, because when I was there, I saw that you had some opportunities there. What are the opportunities to work with you? How do you work with people?
Well, it's by invitation only. And what we do is we meet with people one-on-one and we give them a private screening of the technology. And the reason why we do this is because this is highly accelerated. So things will change, and they will change very rapidly. And we coach our clients through the process every step of the way. We're with them every step of the way, because things change literally from day to day. And new things will start showing up. They'll start experiencing new abilities that they didn't know that they had. They'll start experiencing new clarity and new levels of awareness, and are able to handle much more complex concepts more easily, and things are flowing smoother. Their physical aspects, all of these things are changing. However, it's an amazing thing about consciousness, raising consciousness. Now, a lot of times people talk about consciousness, raising consciousness, and it's kind of as a concept, and that's all with the conscious mind. And I'm mostly interested in results. So I'm only mostly interested in, well, what's going to produce that kind of a result using the mind, and that's using the subconscious mind. So when we're, and it's very unique to actually have a technology that can raise your consciousness. So we're talking about something that's completely new, and very advanced, and like I said, highly accelerated. So we coach our members every step of the way, and we're there with them because new things show up from day to day, and it's really amazing how people can experience change happening right in front of their eyes. And their subconscious resistance is so powerful that it can cause them to completely ignore it and not see it. And if they don't see it, then it doesn't expand beyond that. So as we are coaching our clients every step of the way, and we meet with them, and you say, well, what's been happening? And they'll say, oh, well, not much, but something kind of interesting happened. We didn't think we were going to get an insurance claim on our roof, and the day after I started your program, I got a check for $15,000 in the mail. And I called up the insurance company and said, hey, I thought we weren't getting this. And they said, well, we decided to give it to you. So you could say, oh, that was a coincidence. But we see it happening over and over and over and over again, literally sometimes from the very first time people watch the technology. And what's happening is their consciousness is being freed from all of these old limiting heavy beliefs that were dragging them down, that were blocking their success. And it's like a cork popping up, holding a cork under the water, and you let it go and it pops up to the surface. The same thing happens when you release all those negative chains of bondage. Your whole being just pops up to the surface, and all of what you've been putting out there starts showing up because there's nothing blocking it. So I know that was a long answer to your question of how we work with our clients. The best thing to do is to go to MindFlavors.com/VIP. And from there, you can see first-time watching examples of other people who are watching the technology for the first time. And we've done we like to do a before and an after of everyone. So because you can see it, you can see the change right on their faces. And they come with all the heaviness of the world, and on the other side, they're like a little child with a big beaming smile. And at that point, then we see if it's a good fit, and then if it is, then we'll invite them into our program.
Wow, that just sounds really fascinating. So everybody, that's mindflavors.com/VIP. Definitely go check out mindflavors.com, because they do have a really good frequently asked questions section. There's some videos, and you can watch some videos with Carl and his partner, Amy, that they're, talking about what's going on. So again, wow, Carl, I'm, again, very fascinating. This is like one of my favorite topics to talk about.
Awesome.
So I'll have to invite you back another time where maybe we can dig deeper into some of the things that people are working on. And again, it's mindflavors.com, and, go check it out, everyone. Before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd like to give your listeners a free ebook, as I mentioned before, that will teach them how they can program their subconscious mind the manual way. And that's at excuse me, that's at mindflavors.com/ebook. mindflavors.com/ebook. That's really easy. I'm going to go get that because, hey, I could start tonight and see what happens tomorrow. That's right.
And I think that I love that idea that we can change our subconscious mind, and you can do it the old-fashioned way by writing, or you can go check out MindFlavors and get the accelerator method at 4.5 minutes. I just love that. It makes me laugh, to think that you could literally change your life in 4.5 minutes at the subconscious level. And I think that's just phenomenal. Well, Carl, I really enjoyed talking with you. And again, I am extending an invitation I'll invite you back another time for some more great conversations.
Well, great. How about if we have you experience the MindFlavors technology, and then we'll have another conversation.
Hey, that sounds great to me. So, I'll look into that. So mindflavors.com. And thank you so much, Carl. Everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.